Hello, happy Wednesday! I hope you've been having a great week. I can't believe that we're coming to the end of April. I remember distinctively just talking about the new year, like going into 2020, and all of us having so much hopes and aspirations and goals for this year, because 2020, it signifies basically like a new change, and there's so much hope for that. And now it's April, or it's May, really. And I know that, just judging by a lot of the sentiments floating around social media, that for a lot of us it can be quite disappointing that for such a great year with so many plans for work projects, for businesses that it's about to take off, for the vacations that you've planned with your family, and the trips that you want to take, and what you want to explore. Maybe you just want to indulge in a hobby, maybe a lot of these plans are right now not happening, right? And the thing is, 2020 has been getting a lot of negativity in a way. Like, it's really funny seeing all these memes and jokes going around Instagram and Facebook, okay, 2020, we're done with you. and I can understand this sentiment, right? Because when our plans change and it's not by like our design, and we kind of feel like we have no choice, it's hard. It's hard to pivot, it's hard to adjust sometimes, because financially we're affected, some of us are affected, our health are affected, and just our norms, our everyday routine is affected, and what makes us happy may need to be evaluated. So I think that that's part of the main challenge, and that's why I want to talk about triggers today. So during this quarantine, what triggers you, or who triggers you? That's what I want to know, and it'll be great if you feel like sharing, because we find ourselves in a time where maybe you're quarantined with people whom you don't usually spend so much time with. And I know I've spoken at length about this in the previous live chats, but not so specific as to triggers. And maybe it's not even a person. Maybe you're triggered by what you see online. Maybe you're triggered by the news that you read. Maybe you're triggered by the fact that you're not able to do what you normally do. So what triggers you? Hi to everybody saying hi. Rim, Cindy, Luchai, Peter, hi Marty, hi Josephine, hi Gwen, hi Balbina from Canada, hi Cindy. Cindy here says, in Singapore, the COVID number is still rising every day. Suddenly, the fears have been triggering. Economy is pretty badly affected. So what specifically are the fears that have been triggered? Like, what about you personally? What do you think your fear is? Mimi here says, being triggered by emotions. What kind of emotions trigger you? Or like, what do you find your emotions are, right? What is that trigger? Are you triggered by your own emotions? Or are you triggered by somebody else's emotions? Or do you find that the trigger is making you feel something, right? Let me know. You can elaborate a little bit more. We'll talk about that. Rianne here says, I've learned that leaning in and doing the hard things makes me a more capable person overall. Yeah, I think it's super fantastic, if you watch our live chats, like Yuri and I always talk about leaning into what's uncomfortable and learning to sit with what's uncomfortable. And overall, life is either a celebration or a lesson, right? And this is basically the beginning, like the start of my book. Life is either a celebration or a lesson. I'm just going to show you. Let's see. So this is like the first practice, right? So I do feel like we can learn something from this, but as with all kinds of lessons, they don't come easy, or the actual learning curve is quite difficult. And so this is why I want to talk about triggers, because we need to know how to handle those triggers. We need to know how to understand our triggers. We need to know how to not let the same things trigger us again and again. Otherwise, it's kind of like just going around in circles, right? Like in our last live chat, Yuri and I talk about how we don't have to succumb to our current story of our lives if we're not like happy with it, you know, in the sense that like if in your life right now you're experiencing a lot of anger or a lot of resentment or a lot of like anxiety about certain people, about certain things, that doesn't have to be the story of your life, right? Like we can write our own story going forward, you know, like we can, it's always changing, always evolving. And it's not like set in stone who we are today. If there are any aspects of ourselves that we want to work on or we want to let go of, or any kind of skills that we want to pick up to be better, even at being happy, I think it's completely possible. It is never too late. So yeah, that's why I want to talk about this today. Jerry Well, hi. Mabuhay from the Philippines. Joanne here says, thanks for the topic today. My health kind of triggered from the 3rd week of the movement restriction order and managed to control it by taking my meds more frequently to ensure that I rest enough. Well, that's so great that you are resting enough, Joanne. Like, I know that a lot of these triggers, it has to do with a lot of physiological reactions. It's nothing that you can control. And in situations like these, I think, you know, the best kind of love that you can give yourself is really acceptance and patience. And it always is easier said than done. You know, on the days where you feel good about yourself, you'll be like, yeah, you know, I've got this, I can do that, nothing's going to trigger me. You know, I'm a happy person, I'm really positive, and I feel good about myself, right? You can handle it. But then on the days where we just don't feel good, everything becomes more difficult. And I want you to know that you're not alone in feeling this way. Like every single human being goes through ups and downs. And I'm sure you already know this. But I think that when we are suffering, we forget that other people can also suffer the same way because we feel like our suffering is so great, you know, and then we can sort of feel so alone in that. Like, oh my God, you know, we're so in our suffering that we start to feel more and more alone. And then we start to resent our own emotions and our own feelings because we're like, why can't I get over this? You know, I thought I had the handle on it, right? Like Joanne here saying, yes, acceptance and acknowledging my emotions. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're doing things to make you feel good. And sometimes doing things that make us feel good doesn't actually end up making us feel as good as we thought it would make us feel. And that can also get us down. You know how like you have this hope, right? That, oh, you know, when I cook this meal or when I buy this thing or when I do play this game or I watch this movie, you know, I'm going to feel better. That's how I'm going to lift myself up. And you do it. And you find that at the end of the movie, at the end of that like meal that you've prepared, at the end of whatever you've been doing, trying to lift yourself up, maybe you're still the same. Maybe you're still feeling as down as before. And that's okay too, because life is like that. You know, we cannot sort of like dictate like, oh, this is when I will be like 100%. You know, life takes us where it wants to take us, and the best we can do is flow with it. And again, that's the practice of acceptance, which I feel like this whole MCO has been challenging us all on this. Yeah. So if you've just joined the chat, we are talking about triggers. And today, my goal is to read as many comments as I can and to share what you guys are saying. Jerry Weller says he's triggered when people are not following the quarantine rules. Yeah, like what are you triggered into? Like, do you feel angry? Do you feel like frustrated? Do you feel judgmental towards them? Like, what is the trigger? Like, what does it feel like? Yeah. Balbina here says the fear of death. I think that you're not alone in this. I mean, I was just having a conversation with Yuri about death the other day, and I think that death, if you watch my live chats, is something that I do talk a lot about, purely because I want to be prepared for it in a sense. And I think that like the best way to prepare for death is to like live a really, really meaningful moment, not even a meaningful life, because I don't know how long my life is going to be, right? And so I talk about death a lot because I want to remember that it can happen anytime. Like one of my friends in the industry, Ashraf Sinclair, he's an actor in Indonesia, and he passed away in February, and it was very, very sudden. And you know, his family, I'm sure it's completely devastated. It's just no words to describe like the suddenness of losing somebody that you love. And so every time, you know, we think about deaths, or like right now with COVID-19, there are a lot of deaths happening. You know, it will trigger a lot of fear in us. And this fear can actually, what I do think though, it's like, it's not so much just the fear of death that makes it difficult. It's also like what the fear of death causes us to be. Like, will it cause us to be more judgmental of people who are not wearing masks? You know, because we're so afraid of catching the illness and then dying. Is it making us more paranoid? You know, is it making us like just a less happy person, or is it making us appreciate life so much more, appreciating the moment so much more? You know, so yeah, I mean, you know, fear of death is completely normal, and I think what's important is to look at like what that fear makes us do. How does the fear make us react? So I would love to know, like, what does your fear make you do? What does your fear drive you to do? Or what is the reaction to the fears of yours? Yeah. Marty here says, in Brisbane, Australia, you wouldn't even know there's a lockdown at all. Oh, plenty of people out and about. That's so interesting. I hope that in Brisbane, Australia, the cases are not as high. Hopefully, I haven't been keeping up with the news in Australia. So yeah, I mean, different countries are handling this very differently. It's like companies, you know, like different corporations have different cultures and different leadership and different management, and that's why, like, you know, some countries are doing this, some countries are doing that, and honestly, like, we can give our opinions all we want, and we can say, you know, this is good, this is bad, all we want, but at the end of the day, like, we are responsible for our own life. And I feel like I also can recognize feelings within myself when I kind of like have judgments towards somebody or people who don't behave in a way that I think they should behave when it comes to like COVID-19 and being safe. And I have to like catch myself, right? I have to like, hey, you know, Xandria, it's not that they want to purposely be dangerous. It's like, you know how some people can go to the toilet and then they can come out and then they can like not wash their hands. You know, like I've seen like at my brother's cafe, I've seen like customers go into the toilet and come out and walk straight back to the table. Like they don't wash their hands. And, you know, I can recognize within myself the feeling of, like, how can they not wash their hands, right? That feeling, that feeling. And I'm like, hang on, you know, like that's not an opinion anymore. That's like kind of my judgment, right? And I have to like tell myself that, hey, it's not that these people are purposely trying to sabotage themselves. It's not like they are purposely trying to be unclean. You know, it's just habit. It's just, you know, a lack of habit, a lack of the habit of doing it from their home, and maybe the parents didn't do it. You know, there's some kind of like education that turns into habit, you know, something there. So it's there's always a why, and the why isn't because they're terrible people, because they're like uncouth or whatever it is. Yeah, and so just remembering this makes me have understanding instead of like judgment. Yeah. So I think like this is one of the things that I practice in my life, because I feel like I want to understand myself better. I feel like a lot of my thoughts influence my actions, and then they influence my emotions. So I want to always be aware of what my thoughts are, because they are influencing my actions. Rayanne here says, so true. My mom is really concerned about the virus and the businesses shutting down, and my aunt and uncle's health. And I am tired today because I didn't sleep well from being anxious. So glad I tuned into your live today. I'm so glad that you are here too. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a magical solution for what we're all feeling right now, but I do hope that just talking about it and just speaking about our triggers can make us feel less alone. And also during this live chat, I really hope to be able to give you some of my practices on how not to be triggered by something. Yeah. So we'll go into that later. Right now, I just want to like read more comments. Like Kim here says, politicians have been annoying me like crazy. You know what? Like politicians will always be doing something that we don't agree with, and it is annoying, you know. Again, my personal practice is every time I feel annoyed, I acknowledge that, okay, you know what, Xandria, you have your opinion and you're human, and obviously you think that your beliefs are right. And obviously that what this fella is saying, you know, goes against your belief, and that's why you're feeling triggered. And so my question is like, do I want to keep letting this annoy me? And if I love complaining about this politician, then why do I gain such satisfaction from complaining about it? Is it my ego that I'm pandering to, huh? Just because somebody has a different opinion from you, do you have to like react with such righteous annoyance? That's how I talk to myself. Just to, again, come back to a place where I am like not weighed down, you know, by things like frustration, annoyance, irritation. Last time I used to work a lot on anger. Like I don't want to be holding on to anger. And now that I find that because I'm not so prone to feeling angry anymore, I've begun working on the little things. So like a lot of like my practice now is about like my annoyances, my irritations, you know, when I feel a bit defensive or when I'm impatient. So my judgment. So these are things that I have begun observing, especially during this quarantine. I feel like there's so much time to just observe yourself and your triggers. No? Like, yeah, so back to your triggers. What have you found to be your triggers? What are you triggered by, especially during this quarantine? Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys are talking to each other, you know, like in the comments. Kimmy is like, oh my god, I have so many triggers, help. You know what? I feel like sometimes, like this is one of the key ways to not be so easily triggered. Now, first of all, I think we have to know what being triggered makes us feel. So we're moving into how to not be so easily triggered. And into knowing how to not be so easily triggered is very similar to the process of knowing how to let go. Because we have to know why we want to let go. So similarly, we have to know why we even want to let go of the trigger. Now, most of the time, when we are triggered by something, it comes from a place where we are actually disagreeing with somebody else's actions. We are disagreeing with somebody else's values. We are disagreeing with somebody else's beliefs. And we are triggered because somehow, I think deep down inside, we kind of feel like our beliefs and our values are slightly better. And when we feel like our values and our beliefs are slightly better, like for example, me thinking that when you come out from the toilet, you should wash your hands. With or without COVID-19, it's just a really good practice, right? Like I believe that. Now, so somebody who doesn't wash their hands, obviously they have different preferences, different standards, different beliefs, different, you know, just different. And in this sense, it's very easy for me to be triggered watching this. Triggered as in maybe I'm triggered into judgment. Maybe I'm triggered into annoyance. Or maybe I'm triggered into like talking about the person, complaining about the person. So we have to know why we feel triggered. Now, when we feel like our beliefs and our values and our standards are better, then when somebody does something that is the opposite of that or that is different from that, we'll feel something, right? Triggered into anger, triggered into anxiety, triggered into fear, triggered into judgment, triggered into so many things. And when we are triggered this way, oftentimes, we don't want to let that trigger go. Hi, Sarah! Oh, my friend is here. She's watching from the UK. I'm so excited. I totally miss you guys, man. Like I stayed with Sarah and her husband Mark, and their lovely daughter Anael, last summer in London, and now we're like, you know, not going to see them for a while yet because of what's going on. But yeah, it's so good to see you, Sarah. So anyway, what I'm saying is that when we start to feel our triggers, we have to understand why, because understanding why helps us decide whether we want to continue being triggered. Now, it may sound weird because on the surface, it's like nobody likes being triggered, right? So why would I want to continue being triggered? It's just like nobody likes feeling anger. So why do you want to continue feeling angry? See, the thing is this, we may not like the feeling of anger, but at the same time, we also feel righteously angry, and so we don't want to let it go. And so similarly with triggers, a lot of times we feel righteously triggered, like you did something wrong, or your beliefs are not good, or like, you know, these people are so uncouth, you know, these people, those people, right? We're like judgments everywhere. So we are triggered And we believe we are right. And so then we continuously welcome that trigger. We keep allowing ourselves to be triggered again and again and again and again. Then it becomes like a habit, and we actually don't want to let that go. And so this is the first thing that we have to understand about ourselves. The fact that, like, what is making me embrace these triggers? And the second question is, does it actually make me feel good about myself? And we can be very, very honest with our answers, because sometimes it does feel good being triggered because it makes us feel like we're better, which means that our ego feels good, right? And so satisfaction is something that I talk about here because it's very easy to embrace something that feels very, very satisfactory, whilst at the same time mistaking that satisfaction for happiness. So then we always kind of feel like, yeah, you know, feeling angry makes me happy because I'm right, you know. So same thing, right? Being triggered by this person makes me happy because I'm right. You know, like my beliefs are better. So of course I should be triggered, you know? It's common sense, man. If you're not triggered, you're not normal. Right? And so then we don't even want to untrigger ourselves. And so this is what I mean, this is an example of a trigger that is sort of like general. And then of course we have triggers with people. Right? We have triggers with family members, we have triggers with our colleagues, we have trigger with like spouse, parents, even children. Your kids can trigger you, you know, in so many ways. Yeah, so okay, going back to endeavoring to read your comments. Let's see. Peter here says the hardest thing is keeping fit. They even stopped my volunteer work, so I have to mentally redouble my efforts to get out and walk and ride my bike. Just want to guard from a Viking attack. Yeah, you know, like in Malaysia, we can't even like go out. Now, I think the government today just announced that 2 people are allowed in a car now. Prior to this, if you need to get essentials, only 1 family member is allowed in a car at one time. And so like outside exercise is not allowed, not encouraged, not allowed. So yeah, I mean, if you live in a place where you're able to go out and not have people around you or have any clusters, you're already very, very lucky. Cindy here says, my fear makes me keep reminding my parents to cover their mouths whilst they are coughing. And you know, it's so interesting, like habits are so hard to break. Even like the other day when I was like sneezing, I was gonna cover my mouth, but then I realized that if I sneeze into my hand and my hand touches surfaces, it's how COVID-19 spreads too. So I have to cough into like my elbow, achoo! And it's not my habit, and I have to like make so much effort to remember this, you know? So can you imagine like your parents who are so used to doing a certain thing in a certain way for so long? Yeah, it'll be so hard for them to adjust. Let's see. Jerry Well says, I fight stress by exercising at home, like dancing. Ida here says, every time I go back from grocery shopping, my anxiety level is high for a week or so. I'm afraid that I catch the virus from people in the store. I think what your fear is, or like this fear is a very legit fear. I mean, all fears are legit. What I mean is, I think your fear is shared by many people around the world, myself included. And I think that maybe for me, I wouldn't use the word fear, but like you say, it's anxiety, you know. And the anxiety it's more along the lines of caution. I think one of the key things about reducing anxiety is understanding that we have no control. And I know it sounds so basic, you know, like, yeah, you know, obviously we human beings have no control. However, I do feel that anxiety comes from our inability to control, or our desire to want some kind of control over our lives. This is why, like when you go out grocery shopping, there's so many unknown elements, right? Like even if you take precaution, how do you know if other people are taking the same precaution? So you may catch the disease, right? And so this is what I mean by control. We have no control over how other people are. We have no control over the environment. So one of the ways to lessen anxiety is to understand that there's no control and then to accept it. It's very different from just knowing that we can't control something and truly accepting it, because accepting of that we have no control over life in general needs to come from the understanding that the best we can do, and it's always enough, is our best. Like, your best is enough. You know, like, don't live in the bubble of what if, or if only I had done that. Like, if only I went on another day. Like if you went to the grocery store and you did contract COVID-19, you know, a lot of thoughts, a lot of the anxiety would come from like regret, you know, like, oh, what if I had gone a different day, you know, what if I had gone a different time, you know, if only I didn't need to buy that thing, I wouldn't have gone to the grocery store. And so then we start to feel like we shouldn't have done that. Like, if only we didn't do this, then we wouldn't be in this position. And this is what I'm saying, right? This is linked to control, and it's also linked to really understanding and accepting that as human beings, our best is always enough. Whatever decision that you've made that day, it's enough, right? And I always find that it applies to everything in life. Like, I try my best to keep myself healthy. I try my best to take precautions when I go to the supermarket. I can take all kinds of precautions when it comes to like my work, and I can prepare my best, and I can try my best in my relationship, and I can just try my best in everything that I do. And even if my best wasn't like my absolute best that I can ever do, it was my best in that moment, and that is still my best. There's no other best, right? Like, we can't think of an alternate reality that doesn't exist. You know, if you wake up that day and you're feeling down and you weren't paying attention and you cross the road and a car hits you, it's not like you didn't try your best at being careful. That is your best in your current state of mind, in your current, you know, moment. That is your absolute best. You know, how do we know we've done our best? Because we've already done it. Maybe it's not our absolute best and we can learn from that, you know, to be better. But in that moment, that's our best. And this is tied to acceptance, right? Because a lot of the times we kind of feel like we could have done better. Like, we could have avoided this accident. You know, we could have stopped that mistake from happening. And I want to tell you that you could not have. How do you know something's meant to happen? Because it already happened. That's how you know something's meant to happen. That's what Yuri loves to say. Like, he's always saying this, right? How do you know that something's meant to happen? Because it already happened, right? And so this is like one of the ways to lessen the trigger that brings anxiety to ourselves. Like, just to like keep reminding ourselves that, you know what, like, I just try my best, and everything else that happens, it just happens. That's life. You know, there's really, like, the way to do our life justice is to, at this moment, just live it. Live it. L-I-V-E. Live it. You know? And if we're living it with anxiety now, it's okay. Maybe in the next moment we won't. You know, maybe something will change. Maybe not. It doesn't really matter. You live it and not wish that things were different. You know? So let's see. Balbina here says, recognizing triggers and how to react on it when it surfaces. How do we deal with our triggers? Do we shut up or communicate our triggers? Just like the term shutting up really feels like we've trapped. Like we can't say what we feel and we can't say what we think. And I think it's about when we communicate our triggers, we need to understand why we feel triggered in the first place. Because otherwise, you cannot explain your triggers. And this is something that I've learned myself, you know, like in me trying to explain why I'm upset, in me trying to explain why I'm frustrated, right? In me trying to explain why what someone did would make me feel hurt or bad or angry. I need to know why I'm feeling so bad about it. I need to know, is it that I feel disrespected? Is it that I feel like the person didn't care? Is it that I worry that this person doesn't like me and that's why I'm reacting this way, that's why I'm triggered? Like, is it because I crave this person's approval? Like, or is it because like I'm not so confident in certain areas of my life and I feel triggered when a person says something, like I need to know why. Because when we communicate, we need to communicate the whys. You know, we need to explain to the person or communicate or verbalize to the person like the whys. Otherwise, it'll just be like, you did this, I'm triggered. You shouldn't do this anymore. You know, then it becomes more like you shouldn't do it, right? So communicating our triggers is not about pointing at someone and saying you shouldn't do this because that's triggering me. It's not about whether the person is triggering you. It's about how are you triggered. Yeah. Okay, so Linda here says, I always respect everyone with a different point of view, but sometimes people are triggered by me when I don't agree with them. End up, I am triggered too because they keep forcing me to agree with them. And this is something that I write in my book about how our happiness is always our own responsibility. Like Vron here says, agree with Linda, how do we overcome this trigger? And my answer for you is actually really, really simple. And it's about how when people take things personally because they're triggered by you, then it is up to you to not be triggered by their triggers. You cannot control how other people behave. If they choose to take offense, if they choose, you know, to feel miserable, or if they choose to be triggered by you, the best thing you can do in this situation is to observe your own emotions, is to observe your own breathing. Like, are you breathing faster? Are you getting agitated? Are you sweating? Are you getting affected? And when you can like sort of like be mindful and pay attention to your body reacting, or your voice maybe getting louder, you know, like, and how maybe your heart is thudding, maybe you stop listening because you're thinking all these thoughts, right? And when you observe all these things about yourself, it's a signal that you are also feeling triggered. Now, in this signal, what you can do is then tell yourself like, hey, I don't have to take it personally that this person is triggered, right? They have their own reasons for being triggered by me, which means you have to let go of your need for some sort of validation, because all of us don't feel good actually when people react to us badly, right? Somehow we feel defensive because we feel like it's our fault, and then we feel kind of upset that, you know, we're not doing anything. So why are you triggered, right? Like, you're just trying, you're already being so nice and you're already trying your best, so why is this person being triggered? So then we get upset at that, and so then we become triggered. Yeah, so don't take it personally. I made a video about this recently actually, and it is about not taking things personally. Yes. If you can't find it on my Facebook, you can probably find it on my YouTube channel. Maria who says, yes, read the book. Read the book. Everything is in the book. Yes, everything is in the book. Everything is in this book. Xandria really laid out the approach to deal with every emotion, not to take things personally, like consider other people's perspective, and taking responsibility for our own happiness. Maria, if you've read this book and you find that like it helps you, or you find like there's any thoughts that you have towards the book, do you mind emailing me like a little review of your book? It doesn't have to be long. If you can just take a few minutes, and if not, no worries at all. But it'll be great to know what you think. My email address, you can email it to, well, you can just DM me. I'll give you my email address. Yes. Jerry will say, when I'm triggered by a person, I tell the person to brush your teeth. It's so funny. Fuang Ha, I hope I'm not butchering your name here, says, during isolation, my husband and parents argue more than ever as we live together. I feel stuck and helpless between them. What should I do, please, Andrea? I can't take any side, regardless who is right or wrong. Oh, my heart really goes out to you in this situation, you know. Oh, Maria here says, I wrote a review, but I can email you too. Oh, if you've already written a review, I'll go read it. I think I probably have read yours, right? Is it on Amazon? Thank you so much. Yes, you don't have to email me and take the time to do it. I really appreciate the time you took to write the review. Thank you so much. I feel like when we are stuck in between our parents and our spouse, it is like stuck between a rock rock and a hard place, you know. It's so difficult to navigate because it almost feels like everything you do is wrong. Like if you say A, it's going to be wrong because someone's going to take offense. If you say B, it's wrong because the other party won't be happy. And so what I would do in this situation, and I know it's not easy, so I'm just going to like take you through what I would personally do, is number one, to stop needing to make them happy. Now, the instinctive reaction is when we're stuck between our parents and our spouse, the instinctive reaction is we want to try to solve the problem. We want to try to make everybody happy. We want to try to like keep the peace around the house, right? So we kind of instinctively become sort of like a referee of some sort, you know, or like a cheerleader of some sort, you know, or like a teacher of some sort, you know, like we're like in this position. And I think that it is when we are trying to make people happy, to make both parties happy, so that they don't get angry at each other. I think that when we are doing that, it's when we ourselves feel very helpless and very frustrated. Because like I said, you know, when both parties, the in-laws or your parents and your spouse don't get along, whatever it is that you do, they're not going to suddenly get along. Because a lot of their triggers are their own. You know, it's not your triggers, it's their triggers. So whatever it is you do, they'll still be triggered by each other based on whatever already triggers them. So when you're not trying, like again, I'm talking from my perspective, if I'm in this situation, I would think that like when I'm not trying to make everybody happy and I'm not trying to please either party, what is happening is not that I don't care. It's not that I don't make effort, but I will channel my effort differently. Whereas if I'm trying to make everybody happy and I'm trying to please both parties, I will be channeling my efforts with fear. Fear of what would happen if it didn't work out. Like if what I'm trying doesn't work. Fear of what the repercussions and consequences would be. You know, fear of what they'll think of me, fear of what they'll think of each other. It'll be very driven by fear. Whereas I think that if I can stop making everybody happy, I can channel all my efforts into acceptance and understanding and being a really, really good listener for both sides, you know? And I think that what stops us from being able to be patient and a good listener in these sort of cases is our own frustrations. And our own frustrations really come from our own needs and fears. And the way that if I am in this situation and I feel that, you know, I kind of have no choice, right? Unless I want to like move out or divorce my husband, I sort of have to make it work. And I think by making it work, I just know I need to work on myself, you know? Jerry, well, he says it's really important to live separately from your parents if you're already married, no matter how much you love them. Misunderstanding will happen. You know, this is to each his own. I don't think this is true for all cases. Some people live with their parents and it's an amazing experience. And I really think it depends on family dynamics, but most importantly of all, it really depends on how well you understand yourself and how well your parents understand themselves and that dynamic together. Yeah. And so it doesn't, it's like one shoe fits all. Yeah. So what may work for us may not work for others, and what may work for others may not work for us. Frequency, it's a bit hard to not take it personally, especially when there's someone whom you care about. So true, so true. It's always very difficult to not take something personally when it is someone you care about. I wrote at length about this. I've made so many videos about this. You know, if you watch my YouTube channel and my Facebook, and recently I've been writing a lot about Yuri and my relationship, and I've been writing about judgments and not taking things personally and triggers. There's like a few posts that I bring you through what I do to not take it personally when it's someone you care about. And I hope that my practices will help you. If you want to read, you should totally go download the app Dairy. It's D-A-Y-R-E, Dairy. It's free for your first month. It's a members only community. So I share a lot of things over there. I don't talk about in my writing here on Facebook because number one, it's really long in what I share over there. Like I tell my personal story, and it's just a lot more personal because it's members only. It's safer in a sense that like a lot of things that like everything on the platform is not Googleable. Like you can't find it on a search engine. So I feel like a lot of stories that I tell there, it's a little bit more personal, and it should stay on that platform. So if you want to read, you should totally go download the app and register and then go look for me. My handle is @Xandria, my name. So I write a lot about not taking things personally. In a nutshell though, I can tell you that like, you know, whatever it is that we feel, it is still our own responsibility. It doesn't mean that when you take something personally, it shows that you care about the person more. In fact, I think that like when someone we love challenges us in a way that makes us feel triggered, it's great because there is an opportunity for us to understand ourselves better. It's like, okay, I know that it's because I love you that what you just said is extra hurtful than if just some random person said it. Now, thank you for triggering me. Okay, this is not what I would say to someone, but this is what I would think in my head, right? Like, I'm like, you know, thank you for triggering me because now I know to ask myself the question of why does it affect me so badly? Is it because I crave for your approval? Is it because I'm not so confident in certain areas and because I love you, I wish that you had validated me and supported me a little bit instead of like saying that. It makes me feel like I'm being put down, you know? And so it really is an opportunity for me to examine like what do I need from this person, like even if they are my parents or if they're my spouse or my sibling or like a customer or a client or a colleague. Like I'm always asking like, okay, so why am I triggered, right? It's an opportunity. And so it's great that you triggered me because now I can look at like, okay, what is driving this feeling? You know, especially if we're logical human beings, right? Like, if you know that if your friend said it, you will be so triggered, and when you care about said it, you'll be very triggered. The question is why? And the answer is not because if you love me, you shouldn't say that. That's not a logical answer at all. It is not about what they should or shouldn't say. It's about why you are triggered. Because if a stranger calls you a dog, maybe you don't care so much. But if a loved one calls you a dog, maybe you'll be super hurt, right? I mean, you will be super hurt. And so the question is why? Why? You have to answer your own question, right? Is it because they're being mean? Or is it because you feel like they don't care about you when they say such things? So it's different. And if you feel like it's because they don't care about you that they say such things, then you have to ask yourself, is it true? Is it true that he said that because he doesn't love me? Is it true? You may find that, oh, maybe the answer is no, I believe he loves me. Okay, so then why did he say it? Why did he say it? Right? And it's not because he's your enemy. It's not because he's trying to sabotage you. You know, this is a person who loves you, right? Someone you care about. So it's not because the person doesn't care about you. So why? So then you become curious. You become curious about that trigger. You become curious about why the person would say something like that. And then you will always find that the answer will surprise you. You should really read my post on dairy. I literally wrote about this. Like the whole thought process. It's kind of like a guided worksheet sort of thing, you know, to take you through like what questions to ask yourself and what you need to work through so that you can let go of the trigger, right? Yeah, it's really important. It's important for me personally because again, you know, I don't want to be like weighed down in life. I want to be, you know, just weighed down, just feels heavy. I don't want to carry with me. I don't want to be so easily like just ignited, you know, like a puppet, yeah? When somebody does something, I react. You know, somebody does something, oh, I'm triggered left, I'm triggered right, I'm triggered everywhere. It just doesn't make me feel good about myself. And so I want to change that. Yeah, so that's the topic on triggers today. I hope that, you know, it has been helpful somewhat just to share and like just stay connected to each other and know that we're not alone in feeling cheated. Yeah, with Xandria, great that you downloaded it. Go read my posts, and then like if you have any opinions, you can leave me a comment there. On Dairy, I have not many people following me and not many comments, so you leave a comment, I'll definitely see it. We can talk about some things. So yeah, be great. Like, it's also interesting when I tell you guys to read my diary, because it's a little bit like my diary in a sense. So yeah, that's interesting. So okay, I will see you guys tomorrow. Yuri and I will be on as usual, and I don't know, is there anything in particular that you would like us to talk about? Because if yes, you feel free to send me a DM and request for a topic, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow what we'll talk about. DM us or me. Ron, wait, what's the link again? Actually, you just need to Google Dairy, D-A-Y-R-E, like diary, but daylight, Dairy, D-A-Y-R-E. And then you just download the app. Yes, like Joanne here says, download the app. And then you can follow me. And I started writing there last month. So I have a lot of posts recently about like my relationship. I've been writing a lot. Like I just wrote a post today about triggers, which is why I feel so inspired to talk about this topic today. And I tell you like a little story of something that like used to trigger me a lot. Like not a lot, but like my trigger was more annoyance, you know, like every time you restate something, I'll feel annoyed, and I'll feel annoyed, and I'll feel annoyed, and I'll feel annoyed. I sound like a broken record, right? But that's exactly what it feels like when you're constantly irritated or annoyed by the same thing. And I'm like, you know what? Like this doesn't make sense anymore. Like, you know, it's not his fault. He's like right here. It's not like his fault. And I have to work through this to understand my triggers, you know. So I hope that it makes sense. If you read the latest post, like let me know, send me a hug, because you can hug people on Dairy. There's a hug function, there's a like function, there's a hug function. Oh, by the way, since you guys are still watching, I want to show you like my battle scar. Battle as in battling with the oven. So I showed you my scar last week, and it has gotten darker. So I burnt myself. I just lightly touched the edge of the oven, and this was like the mark. And here too, so I have like 2 quarantine scars courtesy of COVID-19, I suppose, like because I've been cooking and baking so much more. Yeah, so just wanted to share that with you. Anyway, yes, Balbina, I'm glad that you think today was interesting, that you learned something, and I can't wait for you to read my book too. You know, sometimes on stories, like Instagram or Facebook stories, I feel like maybe I talk about my book a little bit too much, or maybe I talk about my program a bit too much. But then, like, I feel like I'm not even trying to sell my book or my program. I'm just trying to, like, a lot of the questions you guys ask me, the answer in the book, it's in the program. And you know, something as deep as letting go of hurt, or getting along with your family, or not feeling anxious, it's not an answer that I can give you in like a paragraph and your life will completely change. And so a lot of what you need to know is in this book, because it's explained thoroughly from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Look at the amount of pages in here. So whatever it is, like every time I post about my book, it's because I really feel like it will benefit you if you read it. Not just because I write it. Like this could be written by anybody, I think. Alright, okay, I'm gonna go now. A lot of rambling tonight. I'm just having so much fun with you. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yes, have a fantastic Wednesday. And be happy always. Bye.